Welcome back to Bible Stories for Sleep. Tonight, I invite you to settle in, close your eyes, and breathe deeply as we journey into the wilderness with the Israelites. Most people imagine the Exodus as a story of miracles, of parting seas, and of triumph, but the truth is far more difficult. Survival in the desert was brutal. Tonight you will walk beside them, feeling the dryness of your throat, the sting of the sun, and the quiet ache of a body without rest. Let your breathing slow, allow your body to grow heavy, and prepare to discover why you would not last a day in the desert with the Israelites. The desert is not kind. By day the sun beats down relentlessly, turning the sand into something like fire beneath your feet. By night, the heat vanishes, and the chill sinks deep into your bones. Imagine waking before dawn, already thirsty, knowing your entire ration of water for the day is a single cup. The cup is small, the water warm, and once you drink it, there is no more until the next sunrise. You learn to sip slowly, to let each drop linger, but the dryness never leaves. Your lips crack, your tongue grows heavy. Every thought turns toward water, yet the desert offers none. As you walk, your body begins to ache. The soles of your feet are raw from sand and stone. Your shoulders carry bundles of cloth, tools, and whatever food is left. The sun climbs higher. You shield your eyes, but the brightness is endless. You search the horizon for shade, but there is nothing but rock and sand. 1,000 people march with you, their footsteps stirring dust that clings to your skin and dries your throat even more. In the distance you hear children crying, their voices thin and weak. Mothers murmur soft words, but there is little comfort when thirst is stronger than hope. When the water is finally given, the camp gathers in silence. Each person receives their portion, no more, no less. There is no luxury of choice. No one gulps or wastes a drop. Even the youngest child learns to sip carefully. The cup touches your lips and you drink, but instead of relief, the small measure reminds you how much more you crave. The desert teaches quickly. Water is not a drink, it is life itself. Without it, the body begins to fail. Without it, each step feels heavier, each breath harder. And so you ration your strength as you ration your water. At night, the people lie down to rest. But rest is uneasy in the desert. The ground is hard, stones pressing against weary backs. The air grows cold and biting. You pull your cloak tight, wishing for warmth, but the wind slips through every gap. The stars overhead are countless, beautiful, but distant and silent. They do not give comfort, only remind you how small you are in this vast wilderness. Sleep comes in fragments, broken by the sounds of coughing, the restless crying of children, and the occasional cry of an animal, somewhere in the dark. When the dawn comes, you rise not refreshed, but still tired, still thirsty, and still surrounded by desert without end. Each day in the desert was not only a battle against thirst, but a struggle against the body itself. There were no bathrooms, no privacy, and no way to keep clean. Imagine waking surrounded by thousands of people, with only makeshift cloth walls and desert shrubs for cover. Every act of relief became public, every sound carried in the dry air. The sense of embarrassment never left, because there was no escaping the eyes of neighbors, family, or strangers camped nearby. The smell of the camp grew heavy as the days passed. With animals tethered nearby, waste piled high, and water too scarce to wash properly, the air was thick with odors that clung to skin and cloth. Flies swarmed in clouds, landing on food, faces, and every exposed surface. At night the buzzing quieted, but the memory of it stayed in your ears. In the morning, when you rose from the ground, you were covered in dust, sweat, and grit. Every step rubbed the same dirt deeper into your clothes. Bathing was impossible. There was no cool stream to wash away the heaviness of the desert. The people lived in a state of constant discomfort, skin dry and cracked, hair tangled with sand, and every touch carrying the reminder of grime. For women, the burden was heavier still. There was no privacy for their monthly cycles, no clean water for washing cloth, no safe place to retreat. Children cried as mothers struggled to soothe them with little to offer but dust-dry arms and hushed words. Men, weary from marching, struggled to find strength for their families while facing their own exhaustion. There was no end to the cycle, no break in the demands of survival. The body never felt fully at ease. Sleep was rarely restful. Even when fatigue pulled the eyes shut, the body lay uneasy. Stones pressed into ribs. Sand shifted beneath blankets. The constant movement of neighbors, the cough of one, the turning of another, kept the mind from sinking too deep. And when sleep came, dreams were filled with longing. Visions of rivers, of shaded gardens, of cool breezes that no longer existed in waking life. Morning began with the same routine, rising with the sun, shaking dust from blankets, gathering belongings, and preparing to march once more. Every day felt the same, a cycle of weariness, discomfort, and the ache of endurance. The desert stripped away luxury. It stripped away privacy. It stripped away the softness of life and left only the raw necessities of survival. For the Israelites, every sunrise was not just a new day. It was another test of how much the body and spirit could endure. When the people first discovered manna, it was unlike anything they had ever seen. Each morning, as the sun began to rise and the cool of night still lingered, the ground outside the camp glistened as though sprinkled with frost. At first glance it looked delicate, like thin flakes scattered across the desert floor. When they bent down and gathered it, they found it was small, white, and slightly sweet. It was food they had never planted, never watered, never harvested, yet it was their daily bread. The rule was simple. Gather only what you needed for the day. If you tried to store more, it rotted. Imagine bending low in the pale morning light, brushing sand aside, and collecting handfuls of this fragile food. The rule was simple. Gather only what you needed for the day. If you tried to store more, it rotted. Imagine bending low in the pale morning light, brushing sand aside and collecting handfuls of this fragile food. Yet the wonder of manna quickly turned into routine. Each day, before the sun grew too hot, the people went out to gather. They knelt on stiff knees, reaching again and again until their baskets were filled. And each day it was the same. No change in taste, no change in texture. The bread sustained them, but it never delighted them. It gave strength, but never satisfaction. They chewed in silence, longing for the flavors of Egypt, spices, vegetables, meat. Memory sweetened what had once been bitter slavery, and the people grumbled even as they ate the food that kept them alive. If anyone disobeyed and tried to store extra manna overnight, the morning revealed the truth. The once delicate flakes became foul. Worms crawled through the spoiled food, and the smell filled the tent with sickness. Families learned quickly to obey. Only on the 6th day were they allowed to gather double, for on the 7th there would be none. That day became a test of trust. Would the food truly last? And it did. The extra portion remained fresh, as though guarded by unseen hands, and so the people learned to rest even in the desert. Still, hunger gnawed at their minds. Manna gave them life but never pleasure. Imagine eating the same meal every day for years. The sweetness became dull, the texture wearisome. They longed for variety, but none came. They ate what they were given, because to refuse it was to die. And so manna became more than food, it became a lesson. It taught them dependence, patience, and humility. Each sunrise brought the same reminder: your survival does not come from your own hands. It comes as a gift, fragile and fleeting, renewed with every dawn. As you picture the flakes scattered across the sand, imagine bending low to gather them, your hands brushing against cool earth before the sun grows hot. Hear the soft crunch beneath your fingers. Taste the faint sweetness on your tongue. And then imagine returning to your tent, sitting cross-legged on the ground, and sharing this same meal again and again. In the desert, even food became a discipline. Even bread became a test of faith. The desert was not empty. Beneath the endless sand and stone, dangers lurked in silence. By day the heat pressed down, but by night other threats awoke. Venomous snakes slithered unseen, their patterned bodies blending with the dust. Scorpions crept out from cracks in the rocks, their tails arched and ready. A careless step in the darkness could bring searing pain and swift death. The people learned to shake out their blankets before lying down, to check their sandals before sliding them on, and to keep fires burning through the night. Sandstorms came without warning. One moment the air was clear, and the next a wall of dust rose on the horizon, devouring everything in its path. The wind howled, filling mouths, ears, and eyes with stinging grit. Tents strained against the force, their ropes snapping, their cloth flapping wildly. People huddled together, wrapping cloth over their faces, struggling to breathe through the choking haze. When the storm passed, the camp was half buried, belongings lost beneath dunes that had not been there hours before. The desert reshaped itself without care, erasing landmarks, confusing travelers, and leaving the people disoriented in a shifting landscape. Injuries were common and often deadly. A twisted ankle on the rough ground could mean days of being carried, slowing the entire group. A deep cut from a sharp rock, without clean water or medicine, could fester and spread infection. Fevers burned without relief. Coughs echoed through the tents, and there were no physicians to call, no remedies to buy. Mothers prayed over sick children, their eyes red with tears, their hands trembling as they wiped hot foreheads with cool cloths dipped in precious water. Sometimes the child recovered. Sometimes the tent grew silent, and the family mourned with no grave but the shifting sand. Wild animals prowled the edges of the camp. Jackals yipped in the night, their eerie cries unsettling already weary hearts. Lions roamed in the far reaches of the wilderness, and though encounters were rare, the thought of them was enough to fill dreams with unease. Even when no enemy armies appeared, the desert itself felt like an enemy, always watching, always ready to strike. The people walked with constant vigilance. Every sound in the night could be a scorpion crawling. Every breeze could become a storm. Every step could lead to injury. Life was never secure. Safety was never certain. Each day demanded watchfulness. Each night demanded courage. The desert was not merely a place they traveled through. It was a trial, pressing upon their bodies, their minds, and their faith with relentless force. And yet morning always came. The camp stirred, the people rose, and another day began. Danger was everywhere, but so was endurance. The wilderness tested them, and somehow they continued on. The desert itself was harsh enough, but the people also lived under the shadow of enemies. They were not alone in the wilderness. Tribes and nations lived along its edges, and the sight of thousands of wandering Israelites stirred fear, suspicion, and anger. Stories spread ahead of them, tales of a people who had left Egypt, who carried treasures, who moved as a great host. To many they were not neighbors. They were a threat. At night the camp was restless. Fires burned at its borders, and men stood watch with staffs in hand, eyes scanning the dark. Every rustle in the distance sounded like an approaching army. Every flicker of movement sent hearts racing. The sound of a jackal or the cry of an owl might cause the guards to grip their weapons tighter, straining their eyes against the shadows. Families lay awake, whispering, wondering if tonight would be the night an enemy attacked. The people had no fortified walls, no iron gates, no city towers to protect them. Their homes were thin cloth stretched over poles, easily torn, easily set aflame. Their possessions were few, scattered on carts and beasts of burden. If an enemy came with swords or chariots, they would have little defense. Mothers kept their children close at night, cradling them tightly, listening for sounds beyond the tent walls. Fathers prayed silently, hoping the dawn would come without bloodshed. Sometimes raiders struck the edges of the camp, stealing supplies or livestock. The shouts of alarm would echo through the night, and the camp would stir in panic. People stumbling out of their tents, clutching weapons, their voices filled with fear. Even when the raiders fled, the unease lingered. Sleep rarely returned after such nights. The memory of shouts, the pounding of feet, and the thought of what could have been kept hearts racing long after silence returned. Even during the day, the fear of attack never fully lifted. Scouts were sent ahead, but the land was vast, and danger could rise suddenly. Every hill could hide an enemy. Every ridge could conceal a waiting force. The people walked with tension in their steps, glancing often at the horizon, as though expecting an ambush at any moment. The wilderness was wide, and in its emptiness every sound seemed sharper, every shadow longer. Fear became part of daily life. It lived in the minds of the people, weighing down their spirits, stealing their rest. And yet they kept moving. They carried their fear, but they did not stop. The desert pressed them from every side, yet they continued forward, holding on to the hope that one day the journey would end. The desert tested not only the body, but also the spirit of the people. Hunger, thirst, and fear pressed hard against them, and soon quarrels broke out among neighbors, families, and tribes. Words grew sharp, tempers flared, and disputes rose over water, over food, over space to camp. Even the smallest matters became heavy when weariness gnawed at everyone's strength. Mothers argued as children fought over scraps. Fathers disagreed over boundaries, their voices carrying through the thin walls of tents. Brothers turned against brothers, each blaming the other for hardship. When the sun was hot and the people were tired, patience grew short, and bitterness spread quickly. The desert did not leave room for comfort. It stripped away kindness until only the raw edges of human nature remained. The complaints rose again and again to Moses. Some demanded food with more flavor. Others begged for meat. Still others questioned why they had left Egypt at all. Egypt had been harsh, but it had also been predictable. There had been onions, leeks, cucumbers, and fish. In the wilderness there was only manna. People longed for what they remembered, forgetting the weight of chains and the lash of whips. Memory softened the pain of the past and sharpened the bitterness of the present. Moses bore the burden heavily. Day after day he listened to their cries, their arguments, their accusations. He had not chosen this journey. It had been given to him. Yet the people spoke as though every hardship was his fault, as though he alone was to blame for the desert's cruelty. At times he fell on his face before God, pouring out his grief, confessing his weakness. The burden of leading thousands through a land that could not sustain them was greater than he could bear. The strain between leader and people grew with each passing month. They doubted his words. They questioned his authority. They tested his patience. And yet he rose each morning, guided them forward, interceded for them, and pleaded with God for their survival. Moses was weary, yet he did not abandon them. He carried their complaints as he carried his own exhaustion, step by step across the barren land. The people themselves lived in constant tension. Some clung to faith, reminding one another of the miracles they had seen. Others grew cynical, speaking only of hardship. Hope and despair moved through the camp like twin shadows, touching every tent, every family. The desert became not just a test of endurance, but a mirror of the heart. It revealed what lay hidden: faith or fear, gratitude or bitterness, trust or rebellion. And so, day after day, the people walked. Their feet blistered, their bodies ached, their voices rose in complaint, and their leaders staggered beneath the weight of their demands. The wilderness was not silent. It echoed with the sound of human struggle, the groans of a weary people learning, again and again, how hard it is to survive when comfort is gone and faith is tested. The desert was not only a place of hunger and thirst, but also of pride and ambition. Among the people were men who were not content with following Moses. They longed for power, for recognition, for authority. Chief among them was a man named Korah, from the tribe of Levi. He gathered 250 respected leaders, men of influence, and they whispered among themselves. Why should Moses and Aaron lead? They asked. Were not all of them holy? Had not all of them seen the hand of God? Why should one family be set above the rest? The whispers grew louder until they became a challenge. Korah and his followers confronted Moses directly, their voices filled with defiance. They accused him of exalting himself above the assembly of God. They claimed equality, not out of humility but out of envy. Moses listened, and his heart broke. He fell face down on the earth, not in defeat, but in prayer. He knew this rebellion was not against him, but against the one who had appointed him. Moses set a test. The men were to take censers, fill them with fire, and present them before God. In this way the Lord would show whom he had chosen. The next day the rebels stood ready, fire in their hands, pride in their hearts. They were confident, bold, certain that the crowd of people behind them would witness their victory. The air was heavy with tension. Thousands watched, waiting to see what would happen. Then the earth itself began to tremble. The ground split open beneath the feet of Korah and those closest to him. The crack widened, the soil gave way, and in an instant the rebels and their families were swallowed alive. The earth closed over them, and silence fell. Panic swept the camp as people fled in terror, crying out that the ground might swallow them too. Fire came out from the Lord and consumed the men who had offered unauthorized fire in their censers. The rebellion ended in a moment of shock and fear. The people trembled, but the lesson was not quickly learned. The next day, complaints rose again. They accused Moses and Aaron of killing the people of the Lord. Anger flared, but mercy prevailed. Aaron ran into the crowd with his censer, standing between the living and the dead, offering atonement as a plague swept through the camp. Still, thousands perished before the outbreak ended. The desert was relentless, and the hearts of the people were slow to change. This was not only a story of punishment, it was also a story of protection. The earth swallowed pride so that the people might learn humility. Fire consumed rebellion so that the camp might be spared further chaos. Even in judgment there was mercy, for the entire nation could have been destroyed. Instead, only the leaders of the rebellion perished. The lesson was written into the land itself. The wilderness was no place for arrogance. It demanded obedience, trust, and humility. Without these, survival was impossible. The memory of that day lingered in every step of the journey. When the ground shook or the wind howled through the tents, people remembered how quickly pride had been punished. Mothers told their children the story, warning them not to follow the path of Korah. Fathers spoke in hushed tones around the fire, reminding each other that rebellion had nearly brought them all to ruin. It was a sobering tale, a scar in the memory of the wilderness years. As the years passed, the people grew restless again. The desert stretched endlessly, and their patience wore thin. The monotony of manna each morning weighed heavily on their spirits. They longed for variety, for taste, for something that reminded them of Egypt. Their complaints rose like a familiar chorus. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in this wilderness? There is no bread, no water, and we detest this miserable food. The words were bitter, sharper than the stones beneath their feet. The camp was filled with murmuring, doubt, and resentment. Yet the desert was never safe, and their complaints opened the door to new danger. Venomous snakes, fiery in their bite, appeared among the tents. They slithered through the sand, striking quickly, their fangs piercing flesh. Panic spread as cries of pain echoed through the camp. People fell to the ground, trembling, their limbs burning with venom. Fear gripped the nation, for death seemed to slither in every shadow. The people rushed to Moses, confessing their sin. They pleaded for mercy, begging him to pray for them, to ask God to take the snakes away. Moses lifted his voice in prayer, and the answer came not as they expected, but in a form both strange and symbolic. God instructed Moses to make a serpent of bronze and set it high upon a pole. Whoever was bitten if they looked upon the bronze serpent would live. So Moses fashioned the serpent and lifted it up in the sight of all. At first the people stared in disbelief. Could such a simple act truly save them? Yet the promise was clear. Those who turned their eyes toward the bronze serpent found healing. Their burning pain faded, their trembling ceased, and life returned to their limbs. But those who refused, those who would not believe, perished in the sand. The desert once again taught its lesson. Complaints and rebellion led only to death, but faith and obedience brought life. The people learned that salvation came not from their strength nor from their wisdom, but from trusting in the provision God had given. The bronze serpent became a symbol, remembered for generations. It was a reminder that healing came through faith, and that life was found by looking upward, not inward. Around the campfires at night, parents told their children of the snakes and the bronze serpent. They spoke of the fear, the pain, and the strange hope that came from simply lifting one's eyes. Children who had once screamed in terror now listened wide-eyed, clutching their blankets as the story was told. The wilderness was harsh, but its lessons were carved deeply into memory. The bronze serpent stood as a silent figure in the desert winds, gleaming faintly under the sun. It bore no power of its own, yet it pointed the people to trust, to obedience, to the God who had spared them once again. The wilderness was never safe, but even in danger there was a way of escape. The desert is a land where water is more precious than gold. Without it, life fades quickly. The Israelites knew this all too well. Their journey was marked by constant thirst, by dry throats and cracked lips, by eyes searching the horizon for any sign of water. Time and again the people reached the point of desperation. They quarreled with Moses, demanding to know why he had brought them into such a barren place. Their voices rose in anger. "Give us water to drink. Did you bring us out of Egypt just to let us die of thirst?" One such moment came at Rephidim. The people camped where no water could be found, and the cries grew fierce. Stones were gathered in hands, and Moses feared for his life. Once again he turned to God, pleading for help. The answer came with clear instruction. "Take your staff, the same one with which you struck the Nile, and strike the rock at Horeb. From it, water will flow, and the people will drink." Moses obeyed. Before the eyes of the elders, he lifted the staff and struck the rock. At once, cool water burst forth, gushing from the stone, pouring into the sand, filling the jars, quenching the thirst of thousands. The people rushed forward, pressing their hands into the flow, lifting water to their lips, splashing their faces with relief. The air was filled with shouts of joy, with laughter, with the sound of life returning. But the place was named Massa and Meribah, testing and quarreling, because there the people tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" Even in their relief, their hearts wavered. They had seen miracles, yet they doubted, again and again. Each new hardship erased the memory of the last deliverance. The desert was not only a physical trial, it was a test of faith that repeated itself like the endless dunes. Later, another moment of thirst came, and again the people cried out. This time God told Moses to speak to the rock that water might flow at his word. But Moses, weary and provoked by their endless complaints, struck the rock twice with his staff. Water still poured out, but in his frustration, Moses had disobeyed the command. The people drank, their thirst quenched once more, but Moses bore the cost of that act of anger. He was told that he would not enter the promised land. Even the leader, the one who had walked closest with God, felt the heavy weight of the desert's trials. The stories of water from the rock were retold with awe and sorrow. They reminded the people of both God's provision and the seriousness of obedience. The desert was dry, but it was not barren of lessons. Each drop of water was a gift, each spring a reminder that survival was not by strength alone, but by the mercy of the one who led them. The desert was more than thirst and hunger. It was a land of sudden storms, fierce enemies, and hidden dangers. At times the sky grew dark without warning. Winds rose like a living wall, lifting the sand into the air. The sun disappeared, swallowed by a swirling storm of dust. Sand filled the eyes, stung the skin, and cut into every fold of cloth. People clung to their tents, holding fast as the desert itself seemed to roar. Breathing became difficult as the air turned thick with grit. Mothers pressed children close, covering their mouths and noses, whispering prayers that the storm would pass quickly. Hours dragged by in a blur of noise and choking dust, until at last the wind fell silent, and the camp emerged covered in sand. Everything had to be dug out, cleaned, restored. The desert demanded labor even after its fury had ended. Danger also came in the form of enemies. The Amalekites attacked suddenly, striking the rear of the camp where the weary and the weak lagged behind. Panic spread as shouts and cries rose from the edge of the multitude. Moses commanded Joshua to gather men for battle. While the people fought, Moses stood on a hill with the staff of God in his hands. When he held it high, Israel prevailed, but when his arms grew weary and fell, the enemy gained ground. So Aaron and Hur stood beside him, holding up his arms until the sun set. Victory came, but it was hard won, and the people knew the wilderness was not only a battle with nature, but also with those who opposed them. Safety was never guaranteed. Hidden dangers also lay underfoot. The desert was home to scorpions, their stings fierce and burning. Children playing too far from their tents sometimes cried out in pain, and the camp hurried to tend to the wound, though remedies were few. Snakes, too, lurked in the shadows of rocks, their movements silent, their venom deadly. Every step required care. Travelers learned to shake out blankets before lying down, to check shoes before slipping them on, to carry sticks, to turn over stones before sitting to rest. Life was a constant balance between vigilance and exhaustion. The heat of the day was merciless. The sun pressed down with relentless weight, and many collapsed under its force. Lips cracked, skin burned, and sweat evaporated before it could cool the body. Some fainted, their strength gone, while others pressed on with staggering steps. Shade was rare, found only under the sparse spread of a desert tree or the shadow of a tent. Rest was not luxury, it was survival. At night, the chill came swiftly, and the same people who had sweltered under the sun now shivered in the cold. The desert gave no comfort, only extremes. Through all this, the people carried their burdens, children, possessions, livestock, day after day. The desert was not simply a backdrop to their story. It was a force that shaped them, tested them, stripped away every illusion of self-sufficiency. Each storm, each battle, each venomous sting, each blistering day was a reminder of their weakness. And yet, in the midst of it all, they endured. The wilderness also carried with it countless small miseries that most people never think about. In Egypt, there had been houses, wells, and at least some measure of order. But in the desert, there were no bathrooms. Privacy was almost impossible. People had to walk far outside the camp to relieve themselves, carrying tools to dig into the ground. The walk itself was exhausting in the heat of the day, and dangerous at night, with snakes and scorpions moving silently through the sand. Mothers worried for their children, and women often feared the long walk in the darkness. Every natural need became an ordeal, a reminder of how harsh survival really was. Hygiene was another struggle. With little water, washing became rare. Sweat, dust, and smoke from fires clung to the skin. Clothes grew stiff with salt and dust. Hair tangled and matted. The smell of thousands of people living close together, without fresh water or bathing, hung over the camp. It was not the romantic vision of a pilgrim people. It was the reality of survival in a land that offered no relief. The camp itself was always moving. Tents were pitched, taken down, carried, and pitched again. Livestock had to be herded and guarded. Children had to be gathered and watched. There was no permanence, no settled home, only the constant rhythm of moving from one place to another, often with no clear destination in sight. The people followed the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night, never knowing how long they would remain in one place before being asked to uproot again. Clothing was another matter of survival. Their garments did not wear out quickly, a mercy given to them, but still the dust and heat pressed into every fiber. Sand worked its way into sandals, cutting and grinding the skin. People learned to mend, to patch, to make do with what little they had. There were no markets in the wilderness, no shops for replacement, only the tools and skills they carried with them. Each thread, each strap of leather, each piece of cloth became precious. The emotional weight of the journey grew heavier with every passing year. A child born in the desert might grow up never seeing Egypt, never knowing the fertile valleys of the Nile, never tasting the foods their parents remembered. Entire generations lived and died in tents, with the horizon always shifting, but never reaching the promised land. Hope was delayed so long that it became difficult to imagine. Some despaired. Some hardened their hearts. Others clung desperately to faith, telling their children that the promise was still ahead, even if they themselves might not see it. At night, families sat close around their fires, speaking quietly, remembering Egypt or dreaming of Canaan. Some laughed, some wept, some stared silently into the flames. The desert had stripped away all comfort, leaving only the raw reality of human endurance. 40 years is a lifetime, and in that span thousands of lives were lived entirely in the shadow of sand, struggle, and wandering. Each morning, before the heat of the sun grew unbearable, families rose to gather manna. The dew would evaporate, and on the ground lay the thin flakes, white like frost. It had to be collected early, for once the sun rose high, it melted away. People stooped, filling baskets, measuring carefully. An omer for each person, no more, no less. If anyone tried to keep it until morning, it spoiled, breeding worms and stinking in the heat. Only on the 6th day could they gather double, for the Sabbath was a day of rest. The manna tasted sweet, like wafers made with honey, yet day after day, year after year, it was all they had. The taste became familiar, even tiring, yet it was life itself. Shade was rare in the wilderness. A tree was a treasure, its shadow stretching across the sand like a gift. Most often, the people huddled beneath their tents during the hottest hours, but the air inside was stifling. Canvas and animal skins trapped the heat, turning each tent into an oven. Children cried from discomfort. The elderly suffered silently. Relief was fleeting and never complete. Every day brought the same battle against the sun. Disputes rose constantly within the camp. With so many people living in close quarters, arguments were unavoidable. Some quarreled over grazing space for animals, others over the order of march. Families bickered over noise, over children playing too close, over the smoke of cooking fires drifting into another's tent. The judges appointed under Moses worked endlessly, settling case after case, large and small. The strain of survival pressed everyone to the edge, and tempers often burned hotter than the desert sand. Monotony weighed on the soul. The same paths, the same tents, the same meals, the same horizon. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into years. For many, the wilderness felt endless, a circle with no end. People who were young at the beginning grew old under the relentless sun. Babies born in the wilderness became adults with no memory of Egypt, no frame of reference for freedom except wandering. The desert became all they knew. Life was reduced to survival. Wake, gather manna, tend the animals, walk, set camp, sleep, and repeat. Hope for the promised land often felt like a distant dream. Yet even in the monotony there were moments of wonder. Each evening, when the pillar of fire appeared, the camp was bathed in its glow. Children looked up in awe, whispering to one another, pointing at the flame that burned without consuming. Each morning, the pillar of cloud rose again, leading them onward. These signs were constant reminders that they were not abandoned, that even in the harshest wilderness, they were not alone. Life in the desert was survival, day after day, year after year. Families rose with the dawn, gathered what they could, endured the heat, and rested under thin shade. They argued, they reconciled, they pressed on. They faced storms, dangers, and fears, yet they continued to walk. 40 years passed in this rhythm, a lifetime shaped by the wilderness. Children grew up in the wandering. They learned to walk in the sand, to chase each other around the tents, to gather manna at their parents' side. They knew no houses, no streets, no gardens, only tents and endless desert. Yet even there, life continued. People married, babies were born, songs were sung. Around the campfires at night, fathers taught their children the stories of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Mothers whispered blessings as little ones fell asleep under the glow of the pillar of fire. There was grief, too. Graves were dug in the sand and loved ones were laid to rest. The wilderness became a place of both birth and death, of joy and sorrow, of faith and fear. Yet through it all, the people endured. They walked not alone, but under the watchful presence of the one who never left them. The fire by night, the cloud by day, the water from the rock, the manna from heaven, signs that even in the harshest places there was care, there was provision, there was love. And so, as you listen now, imagine yourself resting in that vast desert. The air is still. The stars shine overhead, countless and bright, filling the sky from horizon to horizon. The camp is quiet. Fires burn low, their smoke rising softly into the night. Children are asleep, their breathing slow and steady. The murmur of voices fades until only the sound of the wind remains. You are safe here under the same stars they once gazed upon. The journey is long, but for now there is rest. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Feel the coolness of the desert night settle around you. The hardships of the day are behind you. The weight of wandering can be laid down. You do not need to carry the burdens any longer. Like the people of old, you are led, you are watched over, you are cared for. The desert is wide, but you are not alone in it. Sleep now as the camp sleeps. Sleep under the stars, under the presence of the one who guides, under the hush of the wilderness night. Sleep and let the story carry you into peace, into stillness, into dreams. The desert night was different from the day. When the sun sank below the horizon, the heat faded, and a cool stillness spread across the sand. The wind softened, carrying with it the faint smell of smoke from the campfires. Above, the sky opened wide. Stars, countless and bright, filled the heavens. They seemed close enough to touch, glittering like silver dust scattered by an unseen hand. The people rested beneath that vast canopy, their weariness eased by the silence of the night. Imagine yourself lying there, wrapped in a blanket, the cool sand beneath you firm but gentle. The fire crackles faintly, its glow fading to embers. Around you, the camp is quiet. Voices have stilled. Children breathe softly in their sleep. Animals shift occasionally, their sounds low and distant. A hush covers everything, as though the wilderness itself is resting. You feel the peace of this stillness, the calm of knowing the day is done, and nothing more is required of you. Overhead, the pillar of fire glows faintly, steady and sure. It lights the camp without noise, without effort. You know it will remain all through the night, a silent guardian. You can close your eyes without fear, because you are watched over. Just as the people of long ago rested under its glow, so you too can rest safe and secure. Each breath you take is slow, deep, and easy. With every breath, your body grows lighter, your heart calmer, your mind quieter. The wilderness, though harsh by day, becomes a place of peace by night. The stars whisper of promise. The stillness whispers of rest. In this moment there is nothing to chase, nothing to carry, nothing to prove. You are simply here in the quiet under the care of the one who neither sleeps nor slumbers. The long journey can wait until tomorrow. For now there is only the gift of sleep. You can feel your eyelids growing heavy, your body sinking deeper into the surface beneath you. The sounds of the night blur together into a soft lullaby, the rustle of wind, the shifting of sand, the distant hum of life settling into rest. Your thoughts drift slowly like clouds across the desert sky, and then they fade. There is nothing to hold on to, nothing to resist. Sleep comes gently, like a cool breeze. It moves through you, wrapping you in calm. You are safe, you are cared for, just as the children of Israel laid their heads down in the wilderness, trusting that the morning would bring manna. You too can lay your head down, trusting that rest will bring renewal. Each breath carries you deeper into peace, deeper into stillness, deeper into dreams. Sleep now. Sleep under the stars with the fire glowing above you. Sleep as the desert rests. Sleep as the journey pauses. Sleep in the quiet assurance that you are never alone. Sleep deeply and peacefully until morning light. The stars above the desert are endless. They shine with a brilliance untouched by city lights or smoke. Every constellation seems sharper, every cluster brighter. As you lie beneath them, you feel their quiet presence, ancient and steady. These same stars look down upon Abraham, upon Moses, upon the countless wanderers of the wilderness. They shine now upon you. They remind you that you are part of a greater story, carried along by time, cared for by the same hand that placed those lights in the sky. You breathe deeply, and the night air feels pure. It cools your skin, it fills your lungs, it settles your body. The world is at rest, and so are you. The sand beneath you is cool and firm, like a bed shaped by the earth itself. You sink into it, supported and embraced, as if the desert has opened its arms to hold you gently through the night. The fire in the distance flickers faintly, its glow soft and golden. Shadows stretch across the sand, but they are not frightening. They are gentle, swaying shapes, dancing slowly with the firelight. The pillar of fire above the camp burns steady and sure, a silent reminder that you are watched over. Its glow does not waver. Its warmth does not fade. It is a guardian, ancient and faithful, a companion through the long night. With its light above, there is no fear. You are safe, you are held. Your breath finds its rhythm, slow and calm. In and out, in and out. Each inhale draws in peace. Each exhale releases worry. With every breath, your body feels lighter, as though you are floating just above the ground, carried by the stillness of the desert night. Your muscles soften. Your thoughts loosen. The day is gone, and tomorrow has not yet come. Only this moment remains, this gift of quiet rest. You hear the soft sounds of the camp around you. A sheep stirs, a child sighs in sleep. The faint crackle of fire drifts through the air. These sounds are gentle, unhurried. They do not disturb you. They lull you, reminding you that life itself is slowed, that the wilderness is quiet. You too may be quiet now. You too may rest. Imagine the stars speaking blessings over you. They shine steadily, as though whispering, you are safe. You are cared for. You are not alone. Their light falls across your face, soft and silver, wrapping you like a blanket of peace. The night becomes a shelter, not a threat. The darkness becomes a comfort, not a fear. It is in the night that you find renewal. It is in the night that you are refreshed. The people in the wilderness trusted that manna would appear in the morning. Each night they lay down without food, believing that the ground would be covered in blessing when they awoke. You too can trust. You too can release your burdens. Just as they laid their heads down in faith, so you may lay your head down in peace. The night will provide what you need. Sleep will bring what you lack. Rest will renew you. You feel your body growing heavier now, each limb relaxed and still. Your eyes drift closed. Your breathing deepens further. Each moment carries you deeper into rest. If a thought rises, it drifts away like a cloud in the vast desert sky. Nothing clings, nothing holds. Only calm remains. Only peace remains. Only sleep remains. Sleep now beneath the stars. Sleep with the fire above you glowing. Sleep with the desert winds soft around you. Sleep with the blessings of the night resting gently upon you. Sleep deeply and without fear until the light of morning. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. You are safe in the wilderness night. You are loved beneath the endless stars. You are held in the arms of peace. Sleep now. The camp is still. The fires glow low. The people rest. You too may rest. Sleep now. The one who led them leads you. The one who fed them feeds you. The one who watched over them watches over you. Sleep now. You are not alone. You are never alone. You are always seen, always cared for, always known. Sleep now. Like manna that appears with the dawn, peace rises in your heart. Like water from the rock, rest flows into your soul. Like the fire that never fades, comfort surrounds you. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The stars do not hurry. The night does not rush. Time itself slows, waiting for you to rest. Sleep now. The wind is soft. The sand is cool. The night is kind. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. Your body is light. Your breath is calm. Your spirit is free. Sleep now. The desert is wide, but peace is wider. The night is deep, but rest is deeper. Your dreams will be gentle. Your sleep will be whole. Sleep now. Over and over, Blessings fall upon you. Over and over, peace covers you. Over and over, love surrounds you. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The desert night stretches wide, but you are wrapped in warmth. The stars shimmer overhead, steady and faithful. Their light falls across you, gentle as a blanket. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The fire above the camp glows bright, its light steady against the darkness. It does not flicker. It does not fade. It shines for you, a reminder that you are never forgotten. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The wind is soft upon your face. It carries the coolness of night, lifting the heat of the day away. Each breeze is a caress, soothing and tender. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The tents are quiet. Families rest in silence. Children breathe slowly in their slumber. Mothers hum quiet songs that fade into the night. Fathers rest their weary eyes, grateful for peace. The camp is still. You too may be still. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The stars whisper blessings over you. They say you are not alone. You are watched. You are cared for. You are part of something greater. You are cradled by the night itself. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. Like manna appearing at dawn, peace arrives without fail. Like water from the rock, rest flows where you least expect it. Like shade in the desert, comfort surrounds you in your need. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The sand beneath you is cool and firm, shaped like a resting place made just for you. The earth itself supports you. You do not fall. You do not drift. You are held. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The night is endless, but it is kind. Its silence is deep, but it is gentle. It hushes the world around you, asking nothing of you but rest. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. Your breath is steady, in and out, in and out. Each inhale fills you with peace. Each exhale releases the weight of wandering. You need to carry nothing more. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The fire above the camp has watched the people for years. It has never dimmed. It has never abandoned them. It will not abandon you. Its glow is your comfort. Its warmth is your guard. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The stars will still shine when you wake. The manna will still appear. The blessing will still remain. All you must do now is rest. All you must do is sleep. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now. The journey is long, but tonight is for peace. The desert is wide, but tonight is for rest. The fire glows. The stars shine. The night holds you. Sleep now. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. Sleep now.